Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to talk about the, two things. The first thing is the movie or the book from Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol. Now this video is kind of an extension of the video that I did on the hidden meaning of Christmas. There's two parts to that. This could be considered the third part. The hidden meaning of Christmas, part 3. But I'm really just talking about, to validate what I had said in the first two videos about Christmas being a time, the Christmas message, the hidden meaning, to summarize, is the understanding of a spiritual awakening and what that is, and that it's a real thing. And that all these religions in the world are trying to teach the same thing about this spiritual awakening, which enables you to have an experience with God. Maybe not the God you imagine, if you think it's a God that is an invisible man that lives in the sky with a beard that grants wishes. I don't think anybody's ever going to have an experience with that. If you do, good for you. That must have been a great experience. But here we have a movie, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. Now, Charles Dickens was a very wise and enlightened writer of his day. And I have a few of his quotes here I'm going to read, just to give you an idea of where this man was coming from. Charles Dickens said, "Subdue your appetite, and you have conquered human nature. Desires," he understood that, and how it creates our personalities. And the next one is a next quote from Charles Dickens. "A person cannot truly improve unless he helps others to improve." Now, Charles Dickens also understood that in order to be a good person, you have to do good things, and helping others is a good thing. So if you don't help others, call yourself good, you may be just lying to yourself. So he knew he was a wise writer, and that's why his books and his stories in the book A Christmas Carol and his others have stood the test of time, because they hit our subconscious mind. They're talking to a part of us that is good, the goodness in us, the God in us, if you want to call it that, the light. They're talking to that. And movies like The Wizard of Oz, Star Wars, A Christmas Carol, that's what they're doing. They're spiritual movies, all of them. And they have a spiritual hidden message that speaks to our subconscious mind. A lot of people know that, but there are some people that don't. And I'm telling you now, because I want to help, and I want to let you know. I want to give you information to inform you. The most important thing in life is to stop saying "I wish" and to start saying "I will." This is another quote from Charles Dickens. And that's because, as we know, "I wish" gets you nothing. "I will" means you're going to do something. Action. We can wish all we want, but wishes ain't going to get us anything. Action gets us something. Great quote from Charles Dickens. "Happiness is a gift, and the trick is not to expect it, but to delight in it when it comes." It is a gift, happiness, and it's hard not to expect it. But the trick is not to. That's a good one to think about. So Charles Dickens was a very wise man. He seemed to have known a lot of the intricacies of psychology. And this last quote is, "We forge the chains we wear in life." And what this means is you reap what you sow. It's basically saying the same thing. You give out a lot of negative energy, well, you're going to get negative energy back. You can't expect to go around treating people like garbage and they're going to treat you good. But when people do, and that brings us to the story, A Christmas Carol, because that's what happens in this story. Here we have a Christmas story that has no Santa Claus, no Rudolph, no snowmen, no Christmas trees, no Jesus in this story. But yet, it's one of the most popular, most remade Christmas stories of all time. If you look online and do a quick search, you'll find, I found many. I found at least 10 or 15, but I'm sure there's more different versions of this story, from animated versions to the old classics. One was made in 1935. And I recently watched one from 2009. Disney created it. Jim Carrey did the voice. It was a computer animated, kind of looks real, but it's animated. And it was actually really good, because it kept a lot of Charles Dickinson's wording the way it was, and kept in a lot of things that other stories left out, and they're important. Now, if you're not familiar with the movie A Christmas Carol, it's a story about a grumpy, bitter old man that grew bitter and greedy, selfish, not a good man, and everybody knew it. People that worked with him, around him, but people tried to stay cheery around him anyway. Well, his partner dies, Marley, on December 25th. And death is a part of this movie towards the end, and right here at the beginning as well, because Marley dies. And when death comes in our lives, it makes us think, because there's a fear that it's coming to an end, and it reminds us. And this fear controls us and pushes us on our way through life. Well, the ghost of Marley visits him on Christmas Eve and tells him he's going to be visited by 3 other ghosts. One, a ghost of Christmas past, another, a ghost of Christmas present, and a ghost of Christmas yet to be, or Christmas future. A trinity, as you would say, of ghosts. And the ghost of Christmas past comes and takes Scrooge, Ebenezer Scrooge, and shows him the things he did in his past that made him who he is today. And that's how all of us, our past is what creates us today. The things we did yesterday affect us today. Emotions, experiences, what we've learned, creates the character, the personality we are today. And then the ghost of Christmas present comes and shows him what's going on today. And that brings us to where, Scrooge treats everybody horrible, but yet in the present, when he sees that Bob Cratchit, who works for him and who he treats horrible, gives a toast to him and wishes him a Merry Christmas. even though the rest of Bob Cratchit's family, says, no, I'm not going to toast to him. His wife says, no, he's a mean, evil man. Why would you want to toast to him? And Bob Cratchit says, because it's Christmas. Forgiveness. And Tiny Tim agrees and says, Merry Christmas. Everyone in that scene, in that vision that Scrooge is having from this ghost. And it affects him deeply, because if you can imagine your own emotions, if you treated somebody really mean, and then you could see them when they couldn't see you, like you were a ghost or whatever, and they were treating you kindly, saying nice things about you, you probably would feel pretty bad, wouldn't you, that you treated them poorly. So this is what happens with the Ghost of Christmas Present. He shows that, just because he's treating people poorly, they're not being affected by it and being poor themselves. That it's only affecting him. Now, the next ghost is the Christmas Yet to Be. The ghost of Christmas Yet to Be. And he takes him, and this ghost is the one he fears the most. And we all fear the future the most, because death lies at the future. And that's what this ghost looks like, a cloaked death, the Grim Reaper. And he goes and he brings him out and he shows him that in the future, people didn't care for him anymore, because they are cheering and happy that he died. And he shows that his actions have created his life. And he realizes that if he changes now, he can change the future. Because we can change the future. We can't change the past, but what we do right now changes the future. And that's what Scrooge had, an epiphany, an awakening, a spiritual enlightenment. And when he did that, he woke up and couldn't believe they did it all in one day. And he starts acting and dancing like out of character for him. He changes. His whole personality changes overnight. The maid or cleaning lady downstairs, when he comes down, thinks he's crazy. People think he's lost his mind. Well, that's what happens when people have spiritual awakenings and or gain Christ consciousness or whatever. There's a lot of terms for this thing that physically happens to you. And I've explained that in the previous videos. If you haven't watched them, watch them. A spiritual awakening, or a enlightenment, as it's called, awareness, does physical changes to your brain. It's a physical change, and it happens through knowledge and understanding of your emotions and stripping away the lies that you may have lived. And that's what happens to Scrooge. He has a spiritual awakening. He realizes that he can change his future by how he acts today. And the thing that is most noticeable is that he actually cares about people now. There's a care, and that's love, and that's what you gain from spiritual awakening, is a love, a caring for people, all people, not just your immediate family, but everybody. Even the little girls that are getting blown to bits in other countries by bombs, we care about. We don't just call them casualties and, oh well, that's the way it goes, and make up excuses why it's acceptable. No, we actually care. And that's what love is. It's a part of love and caring. And Scrooge has that. And that's how the movie ends. Now, there's another movie that's very popular. It's been around for a long time. And it should have its own video, but I'm going to squeeze it in here. And that is from Dr. Seuss, who was a psychologist. And the movie The Grinch That Stole Christmas. Here we have a Grinch like Scrooge. The story is very similar. Is that a coincidence? Or are they trying to teach us that there is something about this story that we celebrate on Christmas when the Son is reborn that happens, can happen within us with knowledge and understanding? We can have that care, like the Grinch, whose heart grew 3 sizes that day, I think they say, in the movie The Grinch That Stole Christmas. And then he completely changes and cares about people in the Who's and Whoville, and brings all their gifts back. And they forgive him. This is a story very similar to Scrooge, and it's not a coincidence, because that's what they're talking about. That's what Christmas is about. That's what all religions in the world are trying to teach you. What this thing, enlightenment and spiritual awakening, is. It's real, and it happens in your mind. Through knowledge, understanding, getting your emotions in check with the way you feel, so you know which emotions are which, and knowing exactly which emotions and what the names for them. Words, video I'm going to be doing, the next one after this is going to be about magic. What magic is. Is it real? Well, words are magic, and it is real. But people think of it as something like on the screens of, on the stages of Las Vegas, like David Copperfield. That happens to be a Charles Dickens book, David Copperfield, too. But the Grinch, back to the Grinch, magic at another time. The Grinch is a story of enlightenment, just like Scrooge. And that's what this, and it's for a reason, because that's what the Bible, that's why there's no Santa Clauses and Jesus in this, because there doesn't need to be. Jesus was just trying to teach the same message. And I hope that gives you a different perspective on these movies. It's something to think about. Again, I don't know if Charles Dickens or Dr. Seuss for 100% sure this is what they meant these movies were about. That's just the way I see it. I have a feeling it is, but I don't know for sure. But I don't believe in coincidence either. There's a reason for everything that happens. And that's all for now. Peace to you, and thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button down there. Over, I'm not sure where it is, but it's down there somewhere. It's red. Hit that so you get future videos. I'm getting some new video editing software so I can start putting up some graphics to keep you more entertained. You have a great day.